Welcome to the Project Mom Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Gorey, mom of a sweet baby girl and an ever-evolving entrepreneur. On this show, we will explore the intersection of motherhood and entrepreneurship. We will share stories of moms just like you and me with the goal of fostering community and comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our experiences. Please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to ensure you get all the updated episodes and releases. Welcome to today's episode of the Project Mom Podcast. Today, I'm chatting with Meaghan Sheets. She's a licensed cosmetologist, owner, and lead hair and makeup artist of Lovely Bridal Beauty. She's also owner of Volume Beauty Studio, a salon in Spokane, Washington. Meaghan is a mom to her daughter, Nora, and is currently pregnant with her son due this spring. So Meaghan, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be on here with you.
I'm so excited, I have to tell you, because since we started the conversations kind of back and forth on getting this scheduled and kind of chatting a little bit about what it is we would talk about, I could just feel your energy and the excitement and the gratitude that you're bringing to the table. And it really just reminds me why I'm doing this. So I'm grateful for you and your energy with this first and foremost. And I want to do this, right, not only to validate the feelings of women who are listening to this, right, to let them know that they're not alone in some of these experiences, but really to build a platform for women like myself and like you to share your stories. So I'm really excited. And I think maybe let's just start there with your journey. So how did you get into entrepreneurship? How did you start your first salon? I think you mentioned to me you were 22 years old when you started this. Like, how did that happen? Walk us through this a little bit?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been a journey. I feel like the entrepreneurship in me, that started at a really young age. Although there wasn't really anyone in my life who had owned businesses, I think it was just always around, kind of like I knew that I wanted to be able to provide for myself something different. I remember being like in middle school, I think, and my mom went to school for nails. My mom is the one she has like the long, very extravagant nails. And so she went to school for that. And so I was in middle school. So I was always the guinea pig. I was getting my hair done. I was getting my nails done. I was around all the salon gossip. And so I think that kind of struck a chord in me. And I was like, oh yeah, like I want to do that. And I realized I could actually make money from it my senior year of high school, when you had to do like your senior class project and try to find a career of like, okay, this is how much you're going to make and whatever. And
Yeah.
I remember the median income that you could make at that time, this was in 2012, it said that a hairstylist could make like $30,000 a year. And I was like, oh yeah, right. Like, let's triple that. Like, There's got to be a way to triple that. Like, there's got to be a way to turn that into 6 figures, 7 figures. And so I just started doing more research, started asking people, and it almost became like a determination. Like, I'm here to prove people wrong. I'm going to start a business and prove people wrong. I think that's where it started. So I went to beauty school straight out of high school, graduated when I was 18.
Yeah.
And then just started that journey. I found a job on Craigslist in Texas, of all places, after I graduated beauty school. And the owner of the salon that I worked at in Texas, he happened to own like half of the H&R blocks in the country while also owning like 3 or 4 salons.
Wow.
And so he was a huge pivotal role in my entrepreneurship journey because he taught me so much about business and marketing and branding and what it looks like to be a business owner on the back end. So he gets some praise for sure.
I love that. I think, so you currently live in Idaho.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Your salon is in Washington. where did you go to beauty school? Were you still in Washington at the time and you chose to move to Texas post
Yep.
graduation?
Yep. So I went to beauty school at Glendale Academy in Spokane, Washington.
Okay. I
Yeah.
love that kind of inspirational jump, this like willing to just take the next step regardless of what that looks like. So maybe just walk us through a little bit on kind of how you knew. I mean, going from Washington to Texas is not a minor change, right, in your life. Like, did you have any sort of support group or system in Texas, or was this something that you were building as you were going?
So I just really wanted sunshine. That was my only
Yeah.
motivator. I was thinking about California. It was too expensive. I was thinking about Florida. It was too far away. And so I kind of just landed on Texas, literally on Craigslist. I was like, oh, maybe there's some jobs here, and just started applying. And I was living with my grandpa at the time because he lived on the South Hill. So it was a lot easier of a commute to beauty
Mm,
school. And my grandpa is the one who set me up. I was like, hey, I really want some sunshine. I want to do something really cool. And I think I'm going to move to Texas. And he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're 18 years old. I don't think you should move to Texas by yourself. He was like, you need a job, you need an apartment. He was like, you can't just move to Texas. He was
yeah.
like, you have to have things set up. And so he helped me with everything. My grandpa drove a U-Haul right behind me. I drove my car, and he followed me down to Texas, got me moved in, and totally supported my dreams of,
I
just
love
being
that.
this big famous hairdresser that I originally thought I was going to be. And, that journey has shifted. That kind
Yeah.
of those things that I wanted to do have shifted a little bit, but that spirit of wanting to do something really amazing is always there.
Yeah. First of all, I just love that anecdote about your grandpa because that is like so darling. Oh, I love that so much. I just feel the love as you're sharing that story, like just the support, like the unwavering commitment to just helping you find this next step. And I think you highlighted it too, right in that last part right here of like the dreams have changed, but the spirit has stayed the same. So the kind of notion of pivoting is so crucial, right? Of not holding on too tight to something as it's supposed to exist in your mind, but to take it one step at a time and kind of see where the journey takes you. So I love that. So maybe walk us a little bit through. You get to Texas, you're working closely with this salon owner who has given you like inspiration, tips, background, guidance. At what point, how many years were you doing that? And at what point did you decide going home was the next best move for you?
So I thought I would eventually end up doing like really big, beautiful, like beauty pageant hair in like Dallas or
Mm,
something. And I had been living in Texas for about 6 months. And then I flew back home just to visit friends and family. It was my birthday. And I actually met my husband on a plane on that flight.
wow,
And
how serendipitous.
yeah. And so really, the decision to move back was really because I had met this incredible human, and I wanted to be part of his family, and I wanted to, kind of see where that was going to take us. So yeah, I'd only been living in Texas for 6 months, and this is going to sound so crazy for anybody who's listening who doesn't actually know me, but my husband actually moved in with me after only meeting him twice. So my
Okay.
husband lived with me in Texas. He had just gotten out of the military, and so he didn't really have anywhere to go. And
Mm-hmm.
so um, he moved in with me. He got a job at a gun range right across the street from my salon, and we had one car, and we just for 6 months we lived in Texas. So I was only in Texas for a total of a year.
Okay.
And I thought for sure I was going to be living there for years. Like I thought I was going to make this my home. Um, and he's from Lewiston, Idaho. And so we decided right kind of around Christmas time that we were going to move back to the Pacific Northwest and see what happens from there.
Yeah. what I love that kind of trust in the process, right? You have this like big grandiose plan and the larger pull at play, right, decided to show you that there is another path for you, which is really beautiful when you think about it, right? And you have your eyes open and your ears open and you're paying attention and you're seeing what's available to you and the opportunities. So maybe share a little bit about kind of your now husband's role in kind of pursuing this passion of kind of proving people wrong in the salon industry, right? Being able to actually make, triple, quadruple the kind of base salary that's being, promoted for this industry. So, I mean, talk to us a little bit about him and how he was a part of that support team for you. And did you always feel that this was the path that you should continue to take?
Yeah, so when we had decided to move back to the Pacific Northwest, we actually moved back in with my grandpa and we lived in his basement. And which was like a full apartment basically. And so we lived with him and we were both just trying to get jobs because we're like, okay, we need jobs, we need money, we need to be able to move out on our own. And I was only 19 at the time, so super young. And I was just going to try to get a job at maybe like, I don't know, Great Clips, Supercuts, whatever, just trying to get a job.
Yeah.
And my husband was really the one who was like, no, like that's not who you are. That's not what you want to do. He was like, you have way too big of dreams to just be behind the chair. He was like, let's try to find something. And so I just kind of asked around and I landed an interview at a salon that was like they basically really prided themselves on education. And so I got this job and it went from, when I was living in Texas and working there, I was getting paid really well. I was, working alongside this really great business owner. I was doing really well. And so then when I moved back to Spokane, I had to start that journey all over again and I had to be an apprentice, which meant I was barely making minimum wage. Barely.
Yeah.
And that was really hard to step down a few levels and really humble myself and allow myself to receive the education that was being placed in front of me. Because that was definitely a challenge. I felt like everyone around me was starting these careers and they were starting to make money, and I kind of felt like I was comparing myself in a way too at that season, which is so harmful.
Yeah.
But my husband was always very encouraging and he was like, it's okay. You're going to be good. He was like, this is a really good thing for you. And ended up being incredible. So I worked at that salon for 2 years. I traveled all over with this salon. We got to go to really cool hair shows. I got to help teach at beauty schools. I got to receive one-on-one, really incredible education. It was awesome. It was a really great experience. And I had always told them from the beginning, I was like, hey, I want to have my own salon.
Yeah.
And so I ended up working at that salon for 2 years. And then I opened my own salon.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to definitely dive into that, but I'd love to just touch a little bit on the kind of mental state that you were in. You just highlighted a little bit in terms of just the challenge of having to, in a world that really prides itself on progress and productivity and moving forward, right? This comparison game is really detrimental, right? And if we are constantly comparing ourselves to what our peers are doing or what we should be doing or what we think we should be doing because it's, what the industry dictates or whatnot, right? I think I'd love if you could talk a little bit about maybe just a little bit more in terms of how you supported yourself through that, or like what's the biggest piece of advice you take away, or biggest lesson and biggest piece of advice you can share just from that time of, having to do things differently or on this own path that you have to carve for yourself. Like if to that woman who's listening, who's looking to start out on her own, like what advice do you have for her?
Absolutely. I think you definitely hit it right on the head of, I think culture and society tries to tell us that we always have to be making progress, we have to be busy, we have to be moving forward. But over the years, I've learned that rest and kind of coming back to the beginning is so important for our progress. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, at that time, I had to keep reminding myself, like, I am only 19, I'm only 20, I'm only 21 at that time. And, but I felt like this pressure to have to prove to everyone
Mm,
that I'm going to be young and successful. Not just successful, I wanted to be young and successful. And I found myself like wearing myself so thin, trying to be everything and
yeah.
do everything all at once. It was hard. It was super hard. But I think my best piece of advice for anyone listening who's in that season is to just take a deep breath and rest. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like everything that is for you will be for you. It will land exactly where it needs to. Opportunities will fall, and it's just up to you if you want to take them. But you have to be ready for it mentally, spiritually, physically. And
Yeah.
if you're running yourself ragged trying to be everything and do everything, those opportunities aren't going to be as available, I feel like.
Yeah. I love that. I love that too. Cause as you're talking, it's like kind of flashing across my mind of like, we're also just not going to see the opportunities, right? Because we're going to be moving so fast that even if they're there, we're not going to necessarily be able to grab them. And I think that really parallels beautifully to like the season of motherhood too, of women who are not necessarily 18, 19, 20 starting to build out, but are perhaps in their late 20s, even 30s, right? Who have gone through this period of mothering their children and being there for them, and then having this like internal desire to do more for themselves in a different season of life. And I think there's a lot of worry. And I know for me personally, I left a corporate job a couple of years ago because I had this like desire to do my own thing, but it was before my daughter was born. And then my daughter was born and I was like, oh my God, I've ruined any chance I had at being in a successful career,
Yeah.
which I know is
Being a
not
mom
true.
changes everything.
Yeah, which I know is not true. So, right, but there's like these irrational thoughts of it has to only go a certain way for it to be productive enough or successful enough or to, and there's all those narratives. So I really appreciate you kind of sharing your experience with that because it's not uncommon for us to all feel that. And perhaps we dive into your motherhood journey. So at what point, so you started your salon, and I would love to talk a little bit into that too, kind of how you supported yourself through that growth. But where did your daughter come into the picture in this whole scheme of things? How many years did you have your salon at that point?
Yeah. So I started my salon when I was 22. I had just gotten married. So me and my husband always joke that things come in threes for us. So we got married, opened a salon, and bought a new car.
Love
All
it.
within like two
Yeah.
months, like very short time span.
Yeah.
Um, and I had that space for about 2 years, and then I expanded. And again, kind of touching on like opportunities come when you're resting. An opportunity fell into my lap to take over this salon, and I didn't really have anything saved up yet. And so, again, my grandpa stepped in. I was like, hey, grandpa, this opportunity came up. Can I have some money?
Yeah.
And so he did. He gave me some money to start this larger space. And I've had that for 4 years now. And my daughter is now 1.5. So she came into play when I had had my salon for maybe 5-ish, 6 years-ish, somewhere in
Yeah.
that range. Um, and yeah, she changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And I
Yeah.
think that perspective that we were kind of talking about earlier of being able to look back and realize, like, oh my gosh, I was so busy. That
Mm,
perspective didn't come until I became a mom.
yeah.
I always was so busy running around doing this and, hanging out with friends and trying to do everything. And once I had my daughter, I realized that I didn't have the mental or physical capacity to do all of that anymore. And so I had to figure out a way to kind of step back a little bit and be present with her while also still trying to build these dreams that have been on my heart my entire life. And
Absolutely.
it's a balance. Like there's been lots of tears, lots of lots of kind of
Yeah.
wrestling with those thoughts of, okay, how do I be a business owner and a mom? Like,
Yeah.
because you don't always see it happening super successfully. You always
Mm,
see, I felt like in my experience, anyways, I saw moms that were super stressed out, worried, anxious all the time. And I just knew that I wanted things to be different for my
yeah.
family. I wanted something softer and gentler. And I had no idea how to do that.
Yeah. I love that you highlighted that because I think there is this misconception that to be a successful woman, you do have to be hustling all the time or constantly moving because you're something to everyone in every moment, right? To your business, to your kids, to your partner, to the household, etc. Right? As we can probably find a longer list than that. But, there's that misconception that you have to be all of those things. So what did you learn during that period? Like how are you supporting yourself in finding that softness and finding that balance and not actually buying into that rat race?
I think honestly, it came from the women that I was surrounded by. I
Mm,
had thankfully had some really great friends in my life, and I had finally shared, like, hey, I'm kind of struggling here. I'm struggling to see the balance between this. How do I do this? And as soon as I had shared that I was struggling with that, so many women were like, oh yeah, me too. It's like,
mm,
oh, okay, so it's not just me. We're all in this together. And I've realized, like, okay, I have to talk about it. And I'm in a really unique position being a hairstylist where I'm behind the chair. I'm working one on one with all kinds of women all day long. And so I get the advantage of having all these different perspectives. And so once I started bringing up that conversation of, like, hey, I'm a mom, but I'm also this, how do I merge those? Then it was like the floodgates opened of these really incredible conversations of all of
yeah.
these women and all of these different stories. And it was like I just got entered into the coolest club ever. Like
Yeah.
it was so cool. And I still continue to do that. But there was also a time where, I was freshly postpartum and my husband had gone back to work, and it's hard. As a mom, it's
Yeah.
hard. That postpartum stage is so difficult. And there was a moment where I was like, maybe I'm not meant to be a business owner anymore. Like, because I
Mm,
was struggling to see the balance because I didn't have those friendships and those relationships surrounding me as often as I did before.
mm-hmm.
And so I didn't have those wise words of wisdom surrounding me. And so I let these like negative thoughts come into my head. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I can't do both.
Yeah.
And as
Wow.
soon as I had spoke those words to a friend, she was like, what are you talking about? That's not you. She was like, let's reel it back in. She's like, if you really are thinking that, like, I will support you, but I know you and I know that that's not who you are. And so I'm going to
Mm,
help you find that balance. And I'm so grateful that she had said those words to me because now she's about to become a mom for the first time. And I'm like, oh, girl, I got you. I cannot
yeah.
wait. Like,
I love that. Oh, I have goosebumps actually as you're sharing that, because I think there's something so powerful in just shedding light on things that feel so real in the dark, if that makes sense, right? It's like we're in our own heads. And I mean, I personally experienced this, and I've shared this before on previous episodes. Like, the first year of my daughter's life was so hard. I see now the kind of level of challenges I was having was probably clinical in some way. Like, there was probably some level of depression that didn't get diagnosed. But it was a lot of it due to those thoughts, right, in my own head of, well, if this is hard, how do I even plan on adding something else to my plate? Like, this is it. I'm just going to succumb to this. And at the time, this was motherhood, just motherhood, being a stay-at-home mom with my daughter. And the more I started talking about it and sharing some of those really terrifying thoughts of perhaps I can't do both, or why is this part so hard? I wouldn't say get easier, but it felt less of something for me to hold by myself, right? And I was able to find, like you were, some friends who just knew me so well to say, it's okay to not be okay. Let's start talking about this, and let's see how we can get you the support that you need to start to do both. So I love that you shared that, and you're able to kind of look back on that fondly and have that kind of excitement for your friend as she starts to go through that too. It's just so hard at times. So I just appreciate you sharing that, because it's like, I think we all have these thoughts, but we don't always say them out loud.
Absolutely. And it makes us isolate even more. Like we
Yeah.
have these negative thoughts. We're like, oh, I don't know if anyone else is feeling that way. So, and I don't want to share it because what if I'm alone in these thoughts?
Yeah.
And then as soon as you do share it, it's like, no, we're all in this together. Like motherhood, I've learned it truly is like the coolest club. Like you're just
Mm.
automatically entered, like, here you go, free admission.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
think too,
yeah,
and I love your opinion on this, because I mean, you had mentioned it a little bit, right? Once you were kind of balancing the two, motherhood and business, the connections weren't the same as just the ability to connect and be out on your own and see your friends and all that kind of prior to your daughter's birth. Like, I am curious your perspective on how do we build our motherhood community? Like, our is it being vulnerable and putting ourselves out there? Is it joining groups? Like, how have you built that community for yourself in motherhood?
yeah. So thankfully, I did have some really great friends before having my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was one of the first friends to get married and then one of the first friends to have babies. And so it was kind of hard feeling a little bit alone in that. Um, but now that I'm in this current season of, I'm about to have my second baby and I'm
Yeah.
living in North Idaho, which isn't that far away from Spokane. It's about, 25, 30-minute drive, but it's far enough away from my friends to where they can't just stop by on their
Mm.
way to work or on their way home from the gym or whatever. Like it's just not that quick interaction anymore.
Yeah.
And so I have had to put a lot more effort into my solid friends. But I'm also with other women in that current season of, I'm trying to find new mom friends as well. Like it's hard to build that community because you just don't have as much time and as much energy to pour into other women.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a challenge. I am in the thick of it as well. And so I'm still learning. And, I actually was at the library with my daughter a few weeks ago and I met this mom and our daughters were about the same age. And I just was like, hey, can I have your phone number? Like, our daughters are the same age. I don't know. You're pretty
Yeah.
cool. Like, can I have your number? And it was kind of funny. It felt like I was asking somebody like on a date.
Yes.
um,
But you kind of were.
yes, it kind of was like that. And so we've texted here and there. We haven't really like met up or anything. Um, but it's still that act of trying. And I think that effort doesn't go unnoticed. Like, you
Yeah.
still have to put in a little bit of something. I also joined a mom's group. We meet every other Wednesday, and that has helped so much. Just being in community with other women.
Yep.
And there's so many resources. All it takes is a Google search, mom's groups near me,
Yep.
or Facebook, mom's groups near me, or, whatever it
Absolutely.
is. And sometimes it's easier to be vulnerable with a stranger than it is to be with a friend. And so, for anyone who's struggling with negative thoughts or struggling in a really hard season of motherhood, you could reach out to a stranger and be like, hey, I'm struggling. Do you struggle with this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it just really resonates with me because my closest mom friend right now is actually a woman that um, I met at a mommy and me group, like play group. And I think I had met her like 3 or 4 times at that point. And I just was like, I'm going to give her my phone number. So I like asked if I could give her my phone number and maybe we could meet up. And it was probably a couple months after that did we actually have a chance to meet up with like everything going on. But I remember just being so proud of myself I texted my husband after. I was like, I gave some woman my phone number. I never do that. I never do that. And I mean, this woman to this day is one of my absolute closest friends. Our daughters are like 1 month apart. We see each other sans for a couple of, months or so. We saw each other every week for like the majority of the first like year and a half of their lives. So it was just like such a blessing. And I think that speaks really just true to what you said of trying and being vulnerable with somebody who you may never see again. I didn't know if I would ever see this woman again. And I was like, let me just give her my phone number and see where it goes. And the beauty of that is that it blossomed into something both of us needed at the time and still do. I don't know what I would do without her right now. So I absolutely love that you shared that and given that little piece of advice, because it's a nice reminder to just put ourselves out there, and it doesn't have to be with the person that we think knows us best.
Absolutely. And I think also it can be friends of friends. Like, I
Mm,
have a really good mom friend, and I had reached out to one of her friends, and I was like, hey, my daughter has this super weird rash. Do you happen to know what this is? And,
yeah,
she was like, oh, yeah, of course. Like, I'm not a doctor, but
we've
could be
seen it.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I've we've seen this before. So, um,
Uh-huh.
and I think it is just that, like, even if it's just through, social media or something like that, if there's a mom on there and I'm like, oh, like, I have the same viewpoints as her, like, maybe she would know what to do about this. And
Mm.
I have reached out before, and I think it does just take a level of humbleness and be like, okay, I'm new, I'm learning, even though I've officially been a mom for a year and a half. That is not a very long time. And so
No.
I need other women around me as
Yeah.
I'm learning and growing. And then you kind of repeat that cycle. So as you're surrounding yourself with women who have been before you, now you get to be the woman to help those who are coming up alongside you.
Yeah.
And it's so fun. It's really, really fun.
Yeah. How are you feeling with your son being born soon? Like you're almost going to be a mom of two.
Oh, I
I mean,
know.
how is that? How are you preparing yourself for that? I think mentally probably has to be the the biggest hurdle right now.
Yes.
What is it going to be
Yes.
like?
Oh my gosh, that is spot on because I feel like physically this pregnancy has been really great. Like I wasn't super sick with my daughter, but sick enough.
Mm,
And so this time physically my pregnancy has been so great, but mentally it's been the biggest hurdle. Like
mm,
I think just I find myself comparing the time that I'm pregnant with my son versus the time I was pregnant with my daughter. And those are two very different seasons of life. And so, kind of coming down to that comparison thing is I find myself just kind of struggling. And I have mentioned it multiple times before to different friends and clients like this pregnancy, I am struggling mentally because it's a big hurdle. Because when it's
mm.
your first child, you have fear of the unknown. But now that it's my second, I have fear of the known. And I'm not sure which one's worse.
Yeah, yeah.
um, yeah, it's so
Ah,
funny. Um, but, and then, just a lot has happened this year
yeah,
that has just put a lot of weight and pressure on my shoulders. And I don't want to bring that into this next season of my life as my son starts to make his arrival. I don't want to bring that. And so I'm
yeah,
trying really hard to work through some different things and just some grief and some loss that has happened. And I'm like, okay, we need to process this right now and allow me to feel all of these emotions so that way when he comes, I can just focus on my family. And
yeah,
so it does make me a little concerned just postpartum because I did struggle a little bit after my daughter. But this time, I asked for help ahead of time. I reached out to my family, I reached out to my friends. I told my husband, I'm like, hey, I need help. This is what I'm going to need help with. And I could really use your support. I'm going to need food. I'm going to need house care. I'm going to need child care. And I'm going to need you to rub my feet and tell me I'm pretty. Because
yes,
but this time I know what to ask for.
yeah,
Whereas with my daughter, I didn't know what I needed. People would ask, like, oh, what can I do to help? And I'd be like, oh, I'm good. Because I didn't
mm,
know what I needed.
yeah,
And this time around, I know, like, actually, I do need help. So here I am asking ahead of time
yeah,
and hoping that
yeah.
that will come into play at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so empowering too, to be able to really look inward and say, this is how I did it the first time. This is really what will support me better the second time, especially with the unknown, right? Of how postpartum is going to feel for you this next go around. So I just love how empowering you are of yourself to kind of start that and have the ability to change your mind later. Be like, actually, I said I needed this, but maybe I don't need this right now. I need you to do this, right? And being able to just have the wherewithal to say those things. And I do also appreciate you sharing kind of the level of pressure that you have on yourself right now in terms of what you're trying to work through. And I think something that is not shared a lot, and I experienced it very intensely my first pregnancy, was a lot of things get unlocked for you when your body is physically going through so many changes, growing a human being hormonally. You're preparing yourself for the unknown of what is happening, right? Your body unlocks a lot of trauma, even that's like held and stored in our bodies for so long that, like, if you don't take the time to slow down and address them and try and feel them now, we risk getting to a point where we've just continued to move fast so we don't feel the hurt or the uncomfort or whatever it is that we're running from. It's so powerful that you shared that because I think it gets lost.
Absolutely. And I think whether you're a mom or not, I think just being a woman in general, we don't always allow ourselves the time to process things that we really need to address and really need to process.
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh, we'll just keep adding things on. Like we're just going to keep burying those feelings under all the
Yeah.
different hats that we're wearing. And all of a sudden, it's almost like you're like juggling all these different plates and somebody accidentally bumps into, or your purse strap gets stuck somewhere and all
You
the
get
plates go
whiplashed back.
tumbling.
Yeah.
Yes, it just takes that
Uh-huh.
one tiny thing to make everything crash. And I struggle with that. I am constantly juggling and, moving things around. But it's trying to find that balance in it all and allowing yourself to be like, okay, like I don't have to do it all. I don't have
Yeah.
to. I can remove some of these hats. I can remove some of these plates that I'm juggling, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love that as like actually a transition into kind of this stage of you and your salon and your bridal beauty business. How are you showing up in those businesses and balancing being a mom right now? Like, what does the support look like for you in those businesses as you're growing your family and as you're, taking some time to pause and heal some of these, things that really need to be looked at before everything comes crashing?
Yeah. So thankfully, with my salon, so it's a 3-chair salon, and I have 2 other gals in there who rent from me. And so they're basically going to run that while I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they're able to take care of my clients. Thankfully, my clients have been in this position before, only a year and a half ago, where I had where I had to pass them on, and so they are prepared. I've set the way for them. I've got appointments set up for them while I'm gone. And then when it comes to my bridal business, technically this is my like slow season or off season, although I do still have a couple of winter weddings kind of trickled in there. Um,
Yeah.
and this time around with this pregnancy, my son is actually due to make his arrival beginning of May, which is technically the beginning of my wedding season. So the official wedding season is like May through October. And so I'm like, I'm not going to take any weddings in May. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'll start like mid June is like my first wedding. And I have girls like on my team who are able to help me and they can help me do hair and makeup. And then I've also have a bunch of really incredible women within the community that I'm like, hey, I just got an inquiry for this. Can you take care of her? You would be such a great fit. And so
Mm.
I think, again, coming back to the community you surround yourself with, they are my support. They are here to help me. And so that's been really great. And
I love
also,
that.
like, I think just having my friends and family around too has been really helpful. And they're just super supportive of my businesses. They're always like, hey, I'd love to support you however I can. Let me help you.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's something to be said for tapping into that group, but also giving back in. And the one of the pieces that's really resonating with me from what you just said is this ability to think of others with inquiries that you get of like, this doesn't align with the season of life that I'm in right now, whether it be because you're on maternity leave or, whatever that might be. Hey, I actually have somebody who would be so perfect for this. So you are also putting some love back into the community that is giving you love, which is so beautiful and so needed. And I think a lot of um, business owners, and I think even when you think about it in terms of motherhood, right? We give and give and give, but don't always ask and receive. So I think it's just a beautiful reminder of this, like it's a two-way street. It's an ebb and a flow. People are going through different parts of, different seasons of life. And it's okay to ask and reach out and to ask for help and then give help when you have the capacity to do so.
I agree. Yep, absolutely. I think
I
you
love that.
touched on that though, like asking for help. Like,
Mm.
why is that so hard sometimes?
Yeah.
Like my husband has no problem asking for help. I mean, let me take that back.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's a lot easier for him,
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
he
And it looks
actually
different,
needs
I'm
it.
sure.
Yeah.
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 I have a question for you that's a little off the current topic, but it's on the topic of asking for help. And I think for a lot of women who are starting their businesses, who are inquiring about launching something for themselves, one of the biggest hurdles is finding clients, right? Or to put themselves out there in a space where clients can find them, learn about their services. I mean, what advice do you have for women who are nervous to put themselves in those situations, to expose themselves, to be vulnerable, to ask for work?
Yeah. So I think we're in a little bit of a different age where social media is a great tool. When I first started my career, it was just starting. Like Instagram had just kind of crept onto the scene and it was so much different then. But now I feel like it's such a great tool. But when I was first starting, the best way to grow your business and to connect with other people is to do it in person. So you do have to be vulnerable. You have to step out and have the gumption to have a conversation. Like when I was at a salon that I worked at, the really education focused one, we had to come up with an elevator speech. And that still sticks with me. And so you basically had to have a speech ready to go if you were alone with someone in an elevator. And basically it would go like, oh, hey, your hair is so great. I'm offering my services for $10 off this week. I would love for you to be my client. Like, can we schedule an appointment?
Yeah.
And they would, like, 99% of the time be like, okay, yeah, sure. That sounds great. And I still have, like, that elevator speech worked a lot. I still have so many clients from doing that. Like, I would do it to waitresses whenever we'd go out to eat. I would do it to the gal at the front desk of the movie theaters, or anywhere you go and put yourself out there. It really was having that courage to be like, okay, I see you. I think you would be a great client. How about we work together?
Yeah.
Just like you reached out to me. It was like, hey, you look cool. Like, I'd like for you to be on my show. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. Yes, absolutely. I would love to. I think it is just
Yeah.
that courage and asking and being okay if somebody says no. Because
Yeah.
if somebody says no, it leaves room for somebody else to say yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a beautiful reminder, because I think, and it also, as you're sharing this like anecdote of like going up to people at the movie theater or waitresses that you see, like these are strangers in and of themselves. Like you may never have to see these people again, right? So hopefully the level of not embarrassment, but like fear of what they're going to say, hopefully we can put that to the wayside and put that on pause and just put ourselves out there and be vulnerable, because right, sometimes it's just easier to do it with strangers than it is to like,
Yeah,
put yourself out there with
absolutely.
people that you know. So I that is such a great idea. I didn't even like think about approaching people in the movie theater or the waitresses that you see, but it's really true. I mean, you are your brand in every aspect of your life, so why not use that to your advantage?
Yeah. And then once those people, then it becomes word of mouth. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
really how I built my business in the very beginning, is word of mouth. And, your friend, you go up to someone and they go and tell their friend, like, hey, this girl came up to me and like asked if she could cut my hair. Well,
Yeah.
And so then that becomes like, oh, that'd be cool. I wonder if she could do mine, and then it just is this like snowball effect. And I do want to say though, like that is my personality. It's a little bit easier for me to be, I'm not really afraid of confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do want to say that is easier for someone who does struggle with a little bit more anxiety or kind of that personal interaction, like it's okay to be scared. It's okay
Mm,
to be anxious or worried or like that fear of somebody saying no. Like it's totally okay to feel that way. I feel that too. I just have that type of personality who's able to kind of power through that. And I know
yeah.
that not everyone has those tools in their tool belt to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I think too, you mentioned it, right? Like social media is such a beautiful tool now to maybe bridge that gap a little bit, and put ourselves out there that way. Um, and I want to just touch a little bit on, I think social media is an interesting transition into this. I mean, being in the beauty space, and you had shared with me a little bit in terms of being authentically you, right? In a space that is um, driven by trends and, right, comparison and big brands and big names and, kind of all in social media these days, right? How are you staying authentically you? And then you had mentioned to me, right? It's like you have this mindset of having to raise a daughter in and around this industry, and kind of what life's going to look like for her in the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of pressure to be in the beauty industry where, especially on social media too, where everything is constantly being thrown at you, where you need to fix this, you need to do this, you need to buy this. And it can feel super overwhelming, especially to young girls. I also have two little teenage sisters. They are 16 and 18,
Mm,
and helping them navigate their teenagehood is challenging for sure.
yeah.
And I feel like I have had to teach myself how to be like, okay, just because somebody is promoting that I need to, fix my teeth or do this doesn't mean that I actually feel like I need to do that. And it's thankfully like I have a different perspective. I do have my faith. And so I do have God telling me like I know that I am worthy and beautiful, and I have it centered in my soul that I am perfect just the way I am. But that doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to have nice things either. And so it's
Mm.
just fine balance of knowing that I am beautiful just the way I am, but I still like to get my nails done. I still like to get my hair done.
Yeah.
And knowing that I feel like my role as a technically a beauty influencer, because I am influencing women around me physically, that my role is to just make you feel beautiful and make you feel enhanced, like a better enhanced version of yourself. And I think it does start from within. And so it's definitely one of those things where I'm not only doing your hair or your makeup to make you feel beautiful on the outside, I'm also encouraging you and telling you oh wow, you're so good at that. You have such a big heart. I love how you interact with other people. I love how you treat yourself. I love how you take care of your family. And just kind of filling women with those words of encouragement of things that they do on the inside and not just on the outside.
I feel like we all need to find a hairdresser like you, Megan. If I was anywhere near you, I feel like that's it. I'm shifting. I'm actually in the market for a new hairdresser at the moment, but
Well, come on up to Spokane, girl.
perfect. I'll take my 4 times a year trip right up that way. You can take care of me. I've never been there, so you'll have to show me around. But
Oh my gosh,
it's
that's
so
so fun.
hard to find, I think, somebody that you connect with too, who just makes you feel good all around. And we all could just use someone like you in our corner. So I love that.
Uh,
I love that.
I also had to search for a new hairdresser because um, my friend Lindsay was doing my hair. She was on your podcast as
Yeah.
well. And she moved. And so, well, she had a baby and then she moved.
Yeah.
And so I lost my hairdresser. And so for the first time in my life, I had to start completely over and be like, oh my gosh, this is so hard for women. Like I was
Yes.
actually put in their shoes for the first time of who do I choose? Where do I go? Because not only are you trusting someone to make you, give you your goals on the outside of how you want to look, but you're right. If you're spending that quality time with someone, you're stuck in a chair, you can't really leave. Like you better hope that somebody touching you is making you feel good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah. I really loved the woman that I was just working with, but she closed her salon. She's doing just in-home visits. And honestly, I need somebody to wash my hair. Like
Yeah.
I'm going because I want somebody to give my head a massage. That's also why I'm going. So I am
Okay, well, that's my
transitioning
goal.
out. Yeah.
I'm going to find you someone near you so that way you don't have to travel 2,000 miles. That's my goal. I'm going to find you somebody who will connect with you.
I appreciate you. Well, I think maybe with that, let's wrap this up. I so appreciated everything that you have been so vulnerable in sharing with us today. And I want to just give you a quick moment to let those listening know where they can find you. How can they engage with you and continue to follow along on your journey?
Absolutely. So social media is great. I'm very present on Instagram. My personal page is Meg Loves Ham, which if you don't know, ham stands for hair and makeup.
I love it. Yeah.
I've had that account since I was 18 and I can't get rid of it because it's so funny.
I love it. I do
so
love
funny.
it. That's perfect.
And then my bridal business, Lovely Bridal Beauty, I would love to connect with you. I also not only do I do bridal hair and makeup, but I also do event hair and makeup. So Valentine's Day or photo shoots or birthdays, anything like that. I also have a team of women who are able to help as well. And then my salon, Volume Beauty Studio, although I am going on maternity leave, I do have other women in my salon who are able to help, and I can help you connect with those women as well.
Awesome. Well, we will make sure we link all of that in the show notes as well, Meaghan. And thank you again so much for being here and just being so willing to share.
Yes, thank you so much. It truly is such an honor. And I'm just so glad that we get to live in a world where we get to do this. Like, how cool is that? We just get to have a conversation about real things that are happening in real time.
Yes. And so important. It's so important. And I am just so grateful that there are women like you who are willing to do that. So we can continue to kind of shed some light on some topics that feel taboo for a lot of women. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Emily.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please help us out and leave a review wherever you listen, and consider sharing with your friends. If you're interested in learning a bit more about the project or want to share your story, please visit our website linked in our show notes below.